Hello, 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 hello. So, how is everything? All good? Right. So, your protest is over now at Jantar Mantar and you are victorious. What? You are like Babur who won the battle. So, you're happy with that? Happy with this victory? Very good. Right. I am also happy. Our students have won. And how many of you are having history as your background subject, either in graduation or masters? You don't have? No, this is not possible little bit. Because why this is not possible? Because you chose that, you studied that, you attended classes for that, and you wrote the exam for that. So it was subsidiary subject. Okay, okay. So how many of you are having history as your honors subject? Okay, right. So you are all from DU? All of you. You are from where? Which university? No, this is what I am asking. You are all from Delhi University? Indore, okay. And how many of you are from Delhi University? Okay. Because you are outnumbering the others in my classes, what I have been finding for the last few years. Why this is so? Because long back, if I remember, so this number was limited. But nowadays, what I find, like every second person in the class, either mainly in the online, they are from DU. I'm from brilliant colleges of Stephens, Hindu, Lady Sri Ram, Miranda, right? And can you raise hands again? Those who are not having history as your background subject. Okay. So what subject you have? Foreign language. Which language? Okay. Okay. Engineering. Okay. Any other? What background subject if not history? Computer science. Okay. Political science honors. Okay. History was the subsidiary subject. Right. So engineers, some engineers are there. So engineers and history, how do you link? Interest mainly. Okay, very good. Okay. Right. Right. So since you have interest, so you must have studied some history. Have you studied some history? All sections of history, 4 sections are there in our syllabus. Okay, you have read. And you? Have you read some history since you have interest? Level 12 you have read? Okay. All the sections? Ancient, medieval, modern, Indian history and world history also? Okay. Okay, okay, right. And one more thing, in school days you have read all history. Do you remember? I think in 6th class you read ancient Indian history. 7th medieval, 8th modern, and then world also I think. Yes. So you have already prepared history optional. Now the only thing you have to do is you have to expand it. Expand it to reach the level what we have in Civil Services Exam. That's it. Okay. And as you know, today there begins a new batch, and this we will be starting with a modern Indian history. Are you aware of this? Okay, some of you are not aware. And as you have said, some of you have already, even non-history people, they have also read modern, 12th level at least. Okay, which book you have read in modern? By Bipin Chandra. Oh, you? Same book. Okay. And rest of you, I mean, all sitting in the class, have you read modern Indian history at least 12th level? Okay, everyone. Anyone who hasn't read any history at all? Sorry, modern Indian history at all? Okay, no one. So everyone has read at least 12th level modern Indian history. Okay. So you're comfortable if I use certain terms, like if I say Mahatma Gandhi, so you understand? Okay. So very good. Come. And you people, you also have history as your background subject? You. And you? Okay, so what was your subject? Mathematics. Alright. It seems you have great interest in history. Right. And you have read modern Indian history as well. Okay. So let's start now. As I have said, today there begins the new batch, and this new batch begins with modern Indian history. I'm going to show you a slide. Have a look here. This slide. As you know, in every optional subject there are 2 papers, right? So same is applicable to history as well. And each paper carries 250 marks. We are starting here today, and that falls under the paper 2 of history. Sorry. Starting here, and that falls under paper 2 of history. Okay, and after completing this, we will shift to 2. And once we complete 1 and 2, so paper 2 would come to an end. And then we will shift to one under paper 1, and then finally 2 under paper 1. Is this okay? And as you have already said, all of you have read modern Indian history. So that makes me very comfortable, I think. But the one thing very important here is, I think in the very beginning I should tell you, and I hope you have seen the past year questions of maybe general studies, main, prelim, and maybe a little bit of history optional as well. Have you seen all of you? Okay, at least you must have seen the question paper of GS Prelim and CSAT Prelim this year, because this was quite in news. Everyone saying, what is this, what UPSC is asking, how to prepare this, right? Okay. Now, in the light of the question paper of GS Prelim and CSAT Prelim this year, one lesson what you get is that the questions are becoming complex. Okay? Unconventional issues have been becoming important. Even understanding question requires a lot of mental ability. In order to address those questions, you require a quite comprehensive knowledge. Have you got these lessons or no? And if these lessons you get, so one more lesson you get. That lesson is that if you just work on basics of the subject, you can never qualify. This lesson is very, very important. Now we are starting with this, what I have said already. Why? Because here in history optional subject, like in GS and in every optional subject, the level of the questions is high, and it has been becoming complicated and complex over the years. It is something like UPSC has been chasing us, and we are chasing UPSC, right? Now the fight is on. Now it depends like who will win. So who will win, you think? Those who address those issues will win. Very simple, right? Now in order to address those issues, what are occurring as questions, you will have to have a very deep insight into themes and issues related to various topics. You will have to focus on non-traditional issues and themes, unconventional issues and themes, macro issues and themes. Is it okay? Accordingly, the classes will progress as well. I think one thing is very intelligible to you, that classes must be in consonance with the pattern of the question. What do you think? If the level of question is here and our preparation is here, so there will be a big gap. Our preparation level must be here. That should match with the question level. In order to match our preparation with the question level, what is important? You will have to do the things very comprehensively, delving very deep into the things, focusing on micro issues, unconventional issues, the statements, so many things are there. For all these, one basic requirement is there, and that is you will have to work very hard. So ready for that? Of course, we have already won one battle there at Jantar Mantar. We will win this battle as well. Right? Okay. So starting with this, and this means you must start with this mindset that you will have to work very hard and things are difficult here, but you have chosen to become an IAS. You cannot withdraw now also, I think. The whole society has come to know you have started preparation. So there is no scope of withdrawing. So we'll have to fight with it. Very clear? Okay. So this thing is important. Why? Because in the very beginning, if you come to know that the level is very high and the classes will also progress on the same pattern, so we'll be mentally prepared. Right? Otherwise, this might happen. So what all we are doing? Why so many things? Why so many issues? Why in such a comprehensive way? Answer is very simple, because the questions are such. If we don't do this way, we can't address them. Alright? Okay. Now the first thing today, what I'm going to discuss is all about modern Indian history. All about this. So it is a kind of, you can say, a brief introduction of modern Indian history. Syllabus and breaking the syllabus, and what are the sections within the syllabus, how to approach, how to prepare, all these things. Okay? And once this is over, then we will shift to topic. So take a look here. One thing I am writing, maybe all of you are aware, that modern Indian history begins roughly about 1750s, that is mid of 18th century, right? And according to our syllabus, this ends roughly here, 1964. That means we go beyond independence as well. And but one more thing, even beyond this, we have some topics. There are some topics beyond this as well. But it's mainly this. This is the chronological framework of modern Indian history according to the syllabus. Is it okay? Now the second thing is, as you know, everyone knows, 1947 we became independent, right? So this is the year of independence of India. This is one big area under modern Indian history, and there is one small area also that is after this plus a few topics beyond this as well. All right. Sometimes we use a term for this period, that is first phase of independence. Maybe I've heard this term. First phase of independence refers to the period 1947-1964. This is also known as Nehruvian period. So this gives you the information that the syllabus beyond independence is mainly first phase of independence, mainly, though a few more topics are there. The same thing you have in general studies as well. Maybe you are aware of one thing, that every section what we have in history optional are there in GS. Ancient Indian history in prelim, plus ancient art and culture in main, medieval Indian history in prelim, plus medieval art and culture in main, modern Indian history in both prelim and main, and modern world history in main. This means everything you are doing anyway in general studies. The only difference is a little bit more you have to do here. Plus the question level, if you have seen the question, have you seen the question of main GS and main history? That level is also roughly the same. Nowadays you will find that those who are having history optional, they also find it difficult to address the question related to history in GS. They are so difficult. So same level is there, roughly same syllabus is there. So everything will help you in GS as well. So whatever we'll be discussing overall here, you can use in your GS as well, and I will keep on telling you what is not required in GS. But in GS, you have more history also. How more history? Consider this here. We have some topics beyond 1964, but your GS syllabus is, maybe all of you are aware, your GS syllabus of modern Indian history is 1750s till present. Till present means 2026. Now depending on the year you are writing exam, maybe after 2 years, so till 2028. This way you have more post 1947 history in GS. We have very limited here. So those things you will have to do extra, because that we won't be covering in history optional class. Second thing what is more in GS is here art and culture. So what you have written in blue depicts more history in GS. Now, in modern Indian history, we don't have art and culture themes. Though we have art and culture themes here and here in history optional, but not in modern. But in GS, we'll have to do modern art and culture as well. So that is extra. So what is extra history in GS? Here extra, here extra. One more thing extra is there in GS. That is what? In these sections, because these sections are there in GS Prelim. Okay. Now in these sections, and you have seen the prelim question this year. This year's prelim question you have seen? All of you? Alright. You have seen what kind of facts they are putting in the question. Very typical facts. The facts like you never heard, what is this? Now such facts are not always required in history optional. But of course, when you cover history optional very properly, that will help you solve at least, I think there were how many questions this time from history? 2021 around, right? So out of 2021, around 12 you can solve on the basis of the preparation of history optional, not more than that. So think the difficulty level. But 12 is a very good performance. I think even 50% you do, you are very safe. Must be knowing the cutoff this time. So here certain factual details. Certain factual details you will have to pay attention to. What you will get in the books, what you will study, and the hard copy notes, what I am going to provide you, there those details are there. But in history optional subject, it is not important to remember all those, because without that also you can get 300 marks. But for GS history, you will have to pay attention. So what is extra history in GS? What I have shown in blue color. Now, first thing, what you have come to know, that every section, what you have in history optional, you have read in your schools. Second thing, what you have come to know, that every section in history optional, what you have to do, that is in GS. Plus, one more thing you have come to know, but in GS you have some extra history as well. And that extra history is whatever I have written in blue. And one more thing, there is some extra history in history optional as well. What is that? That is mainly historiography. Mainly historiography. So historiography is very, very limited in general studies, but historiography is there in history optional. So what I have written in green is extra history in history optional, and what I have written in blue, that is extra history in general studies, and whatever you find in white, that is common in both. Is it okay? This idea should be there. So, one brief introduction of modern Indian history. Under that, I have already explained the chronological framework, 1750s to 1964 mainly, but a few topics are beyond that as well. Some of you are clicking. If you want to click, you can click as well. this okay? Everything what I have discussed? Right. Now the second thing important here is that this entire period is our syllabus. The best way to study this entire period is to divide or to classify this entire period under specific sections. This is the best way and the more rational and the logical way as well. Since you all have read, as you have claimed, so you know that modern Indian history begins with the British conquest of India, right? One trading company, that was English East India Company, came and eventually conquered India. This is what we call British conquest of India. Then this trading company became ruler, and after becoming ruler, this introduced policies. Several policies introduced in political field, economic field, socio-cultural field, and those policies were colonial in nature. So it was natural that those policies adversely affected the Indian life. Alright? When Indian life was adversely affected, this created discontent, this caused reactions. Those reactions found expressions in revolts and movements. Okay? And under revolts and movement, one movement was Indian National Movement that began in 1885, and that culminated into independence of India in 1947. Now India became free in 1947. Now after that, then we started building this free nation. I've explained logical connections among various sections, though I have not defined sections. So this way there are 4 sections. Section 1 is British conquest of India. Section 2, British policies and their impact. Section 3, Indian revolts and movements. And Section 4, building a free nation after independence. Take a look here. These are the 4 sections. And here I have also mentioned the syllabus. Which section coincides with which part of the syllabus? Syllabus, you have unit wise 1, 2, 3, 4. So unit 1 and 2 under first section. Unit 3, 4, 5 under second section. Unit 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 under third section. And unit 13, 14, 15 under fourth section. Unit also gives you the idea which section is larger, which is small. This is very simple, and this is the most rational way to study modern Indian history. Is this all right? And there is a logical connection as well. How logical connection? The British came and conquered India, first section, and became ruler. Now this is linked with the second. After becoming ruler, they introduced many policies. They were colonial in nature and they adversely affected India. So British policies and their impact. This caused dissatisfaction, widespread dissatisfaction among the various classes, rather all the classes, and that caused revolts and movement. So we get linked with this. And under movement, there is a movement, what we call Indian National Movement, that begins in 1885 with the foundation of one organization you might be knowing, that is Indian National Congress, and this culminated into independence of India in 1947. India became free in 1947, and after that the post-independence trends and development and the policies. Unit wise, you understand that section 3 is the largest, and this appears to be the smallest, right? And do you think this covers your entire syllabus? We are starting here around 1750s and ending 1964 plus some topics. Now you connect this entire period with these 3 sections. And as I have said, this is the most rational way to do modern Indian history as well. I've seen people, sometimes they are starting with Indian national movement. They're starting with Congress, sometimes starting with revolt of 1857, sometimes starting with something else, sometimes with Mahatma Gandhi. This is not the right way. There should be a chronological sequence. There should be a proper coherence. So this must be the first section. This must be the second, must be third, must be fourth. And this is the way we will cover this entire section, that is modern Indian history. So first we'll be starting with this, then moving to this, then moving to this. Under this should be the last movement we'll be discussing. And then after this, we'll shift to this. Alright? Is it very clear? Okay. And now if I ask you a question, since you have said you have read modern Indian history, so have you read roughly this way? Must have read roughly this way. Maybe you were not organized this way, but maybe not all that organized, but roughly this way. You must have read certain conquests, certain wars, treaties. You must have read certain policies, their impact. You must have read certain revolts, movements, and maybe this as well. Have you read this side? Okay. Okay. How many of you have completed history in your GS part? Either through coaching or on your own? Okay, so you must have done all, because everything is there in GS. Now, I want to discuss these sections threadbare, going into the details of these sections one by one, because I want to give you some broader ideas about the preparation of these sections. For example, British conquest and expansion. This is a very complex kind of development. So many wars fought, so many treaties signed, so many native powers were involved. Does it mean we should cover them all? Answer is no. Because syllabus is defined. So many treaties signed, does it mean we should work on all the treaties? There could be a question. Answer is no. So many wars and battles fought, does it mean we should cover all the wars? Answer is no. This idea you should have. In this entire, you come across many governors and governor generals. Does it mean we should cover all of them? Answer is no, but some of them are important. This kind of idea you will have. Now, if so many Indian personalities are involved, does it mean, I think, hundreds of them? So do you think we should work on all the hundreds? Answer is of course no. This is the idea now, what I am going to give you one by one. Now take a look here. This is section 1, British conquest and expansion. This is defined in our syllabus. Our syllabus is this. So anything beyond this is not the requirement. But since this is in GS as well, And in GS Prelim, typical facts are occurring as a question. So for GS purpose, particularly GS Prelim, you're supposed to even move beyond this also in certain cases, and that also we will try to cover in the class. But for history optional, they are the only 5 on which you can expect question. So one is Anglo-French conflict, and I mentioned the chronology as well everywhere. Second is conquest of Bengal, and in the chronology you find that a period is mentioned. This means everywhere, one idea what you get is that everywhere these events were just not events, rather process. For example, British conquest of Bengal was not one particular event, rather a process that began in 1757, ended in 1776. Similarly, all. Accordingly, I have mentioned that. So, only 5. Your preparation of section 1 should revolve around this. Now, here depth is required. So, your preparation approach is vertical rather than horizontal. Horizontal means you move beyond this. We start working on British and Afghans, British and Burma. Of course, these things could be there, but not in history optional. So only this, but in depth. In depth, because micro issues are becoming question nowadays. In depth means, what is in depth when I say? In depth means when micro issues, unconventional issues, even statements. Just not basics, for example. Because this is a very popular, your favorite topic, you must have read, I think, right? So you read Plassey, Buxer, Clive and all these kind of things. But the questions are such that you have to have deep insight into those themes. Because just knowing Battle of Plassey and what happened in a basic way, this will not help you address the questions that would be occurring from Plassey. Okay? So you have to be mentally prepared, even in GS main, for example. In GS main also. In GS main, modern Indian history is there. So this section is also there. Now out of this section, here questions are normally absent. I mean, this section is not important for GS main. Section 2, if you consider GS main, so this is in general not important. Whatever questions have occurred till date, they are related to 2, 3, 4. So your focus should be here. Alright? Now, so I hope this is very clear. Now, in these 5, certain treaties were signed, certain battles and wars were fought, but it doesn't mean every battle, every war, every treaty. This idea also you should have. What treaty could be a question, and what battle or war could be a question. Now there is a list, wars and battles. I have presented here 8 with years. Now, I'm not saying these are the important ones. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that these could be a question. Maybe some other is also important. But our whole focus should be what? What could occur as a question? I think one logic is very simple. That your preparation is a very good preparation if you know what all could occur as a question. And you have approaches there, you have content there, and you know how to write a good answer there. This means your preparation is good. If you don't know what all could be a question, this is a poor preparation. So you're working in dark. Plus, since the things are vast, so many things you have to do. You have whole GS, so many sections, essay, language papers and all. So there's a time constraint also. Now this saves our time. If we know that these are the only wars or the battles that could occur as a question, so we are avoiding so many other wars and battles. It's saving our time. So first is Carnatic Wars, second Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar. This way, finally, second Anglo-Punjab War. You keep on clicking this rather than, because noting down will take a lot of time. Just click it and at home, with your time and comfort, note them down. So I'm showing the previous one as well. I'm showing from the start, the first one. And the second one is section 1, the topics defined in the syllabus. And third is within this, what all battles and wars. Now, when I say that these are the only wars and battles important for the question, that simply means that, for example, this is two very popular. All of you must be knowing this. So that simply means we can expect a question on this. We can expect a question on this. Or we can expect a question both joined together. For example, you write one model question just to understand what I want to say. One model question related to this. Battle of Plassey was not decisive. I just want to give you the idea that what level you have to reach in preparing. Battle of Plassey was not decisive. Battle of Plassey was not decisive. Comma. Had the English East India Company been defeated in Battle of Buxar 1764, had English East India Company been defeated in the Battle of Buxar 1764, comma, the Battle of Plassey 1757, the Battle of Plassey 1757 would have lost its significance. Do you agree? This is just one model to awaken you to the level of the exam. Now, out of this you get so many ideas. Maybe you get one idea. We shouldn't expect any question like discuss the causes of Battle of Plassey. We shouldn't expect any question discuss the significance or the impact of the Battle of Plassey. We shouldn't expect any question discuss the causes of Battle of Bucks. I mean, this normally we prepare like this. Don't you think so? Yes. This is a poor preparation in today's scenario. We have to prepare at this level. So writing the causes of Battle of Plassey is simple. I think everyone would be writing. But writing answers of this is difficult. You need approach how to answer and what, because the question is do you agree, so what about the agreement in history, so many things. Is it very clear? These are the battles, the wars on which we can expect separate question like this. I hope it is okay now. I have already said that while studying this we come across so many treaties. But it doesn't mean that every treaty could become a question. But some treaties could become a question. And now I have a list here. Treaties. I'm not saying these are important treaties. Rather, what I am saying is these are the treaties on which question could be there. Our whole focus is question. I mentioned the year as well. Have you heard of all these treaties? Almost all you must have heard. But since you may have a question on H, so preparation approach should be different. I give you a model question here also. Write down one model question here. See, treaty with Mir Qasim 1760. First, related to first. The revolution of 1760. The revolution of 1760. The revolution of 1760 was in fact no revolution. Was in fact no revolution. Was in fact no revolution. Comment. Now this event that took place in 1760, given the name revolution by some British writers, and so the term revolution. Now see the question. The revolution of 1760 was in fact no revolution. Comment. So just knowing what all happened in this treaty with Mir Qasim, you cannot answer this. And we shouldn't expect a question, this kind of question. Throw light on the treaty with Mir Qasim in 1760 signed by English East India Company. This kind of question we shouldn't expect. Rather, this kind of. Is it okay? Getting? I give you one more question. Write down. Treaty of Salbai, 1782. Treaty of Salbai, 1782 was neither beneficial nor honorable for the British. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? I hope getting the idea now. And as I have said, that our whole focus should be the question pattern. I think you agree with this? Of course, our classes should be in tune with these kind of questions, not causes of Plassey. Because if we keep on doing causes of Plassey and Buxer, all of us would fail. We can't attempt even a single question. In order to attempt questions beautifully in a brilliant way, the requirement is not answer writing. Rather, the basic requirement is while doing preparation, prepare in such a way so that you understand all of them and you can answer. And answer writing is the something what you can do with the class. We'll discuss on answer writing also in the class, how in what way answer writing progresses in the class. Now seeing some model question what I have given you, I think you're getting awakened slightly to the level of the exam. This is okay? Now, after this is the second section. Second section is British policies and their impact. As you have come to know, that second section is logically connected to the first. Britishers came, they became ruler, they conquered India and became ruler, and after becoming ruler, they initiated many policies. These policies had political dimension, economic dimension, socio-cultural dimension, 3 dimensions. But one more dimension I have mentioned, that is ideologies. So let's discuss this in brief. That under section 2, there are 4 dimensions. First dimension is ideologies. What about these ideologies mentioned here? These ideologies are in fact the imperial ideologies, colonial in nature, and these ideologies shaped many policies. This means ideologies and many policies were closely wedded. We cannot separate them. In order to understand many policies, there is a need to understand these ideologies. I gave you example of some ideology. Evangelicals, liberals, utilitarians, etc. That's why this dimension is connected to section 2. We should expect questions on ideologies as well. We should expect question on ideologies, connecting the ideologies with the policies. Write one model question. British policies did not arise in vacuum. Did not arise in vacuum. Rather, they were shaped by various colonial ideologies. Comment. I hope you get the meaning of this question. And I hope you also understand that this question you can't answer if you don't have any idea of this. Alright? Plus, I have already said, we can expect a specific question on ideologies also. Right, one more model question. One more model question. Throw light on utilitarian ideology. Throw light on utilitarian ideology. Throw light on utilitarian ideology. Full stop. The second part of the question. So first part is throw light on utilitarian ideology, this one. Now the second part. How did the utilitarian ideology, how did the utilitarian ideology, how did the utilitarian ideology shape the British land revenue policy? The British land revenue policy. This is a specific question on ideology. Write one more. Write one more. The British socio-cultural policies. The British socio-cultural policies. The British socio-cultural policies. To a considerable extent, were shaped by the evangelicals, this one, the evangelicals. Elaborate. I hope you get the idea now. First dimension is ideology. So many ideologies are there. That is what we'll be discussing like this. And how did they shape and what policies? Then dimension 2 is the political dimension. That simply means those policies having political nature, or policies political in nature. Can you give me one example each? Here, any British policy political in nature? Subsidiary alliance, for example, yes. Doctrine of lapse. Ring fence policy. Okay, one more. A little bit of a space is left. Pardon? Yes, the Regulating Act. Yes, you are getting this. So all such policies will come under dimension 2. Third is policies economic in nature. Give me example. Yes, permanent settlement. Second, Rohiyatwari. Okay. Yes. So one is permanent settlement, second is Rohiyatwari, third is Mahalwari. Okay. Fourth, commercialization of agriculture. Yes, drain of wealth. Next, what you have said? Deindustrialization, yes. Yes, perfect. You are getting this. And the last dimension is policies socio-cultural in nature. Okay, one example. Abolition of sati, widow remarriage act. I mean, social reforms. Yes. Second, Western education. Education policy. Okay, you are getting, I think. So, four dimensions are there. And in every dimension, you have themes, issues, as you have said. Here, one theme is subsidiary allowance, one theme is doctrine of lapse. Here, one is permanent settlement, one is education policy. Now, this entire represents section 2. Section 2 is very clear, I think. Now, section 3. That is Indian revolts and movements. And section 3 is connected to section 2. How? Because section 2 is British policies and their impact. As you have come to know, these ideologies were colonial ideologies. All these policies, whether political or economic or socio-cultural in nature, they were colonial in character. They adversely affected the Indian interest. Result was causing widespread discontent and disillusionment. And people began to rise in revolts, people began to raise movements. So 3 is connected to 2. And under 3, see how I have mentioned. I have mentioned revolt separately, movement separately, because they are not the same thing. How many revolts according to syllabus? 1, 2, 3. Only 3. And within 1, 2 also a specific are mentioned. Tribal revolts do not mean all the tribal revolts. But in GS, see the details you required in GS Prelim. In GS, almost all important ones you will have to do. Because anyone could be a GS Prelim question. But here in history optional, a specific revolt defined in the syllabus. For example, Kol, Santhal, Birsa Munda. This way, 3, 4 are defined. Again, for GS Prelim, all important peasant revolts you will have to do. Any revolt could be a question. But here, 3, 4 are defined. So only those 3, 4 could be a question. This is what I have said, you have more history in GS also. And next is your favorite topic, Revolt of 1857. I have seen people, those who start modern Indian history, they start with this and they end with this also. Now, in movements you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, under 6, there are many movements. But they all represent Indian national movement. For example, Swadeshi movement. So Swadeshi movement is a part of Indian national movement. Non-cooperation movement is a part of INM. Civil disobedience movement is a part of INM. Quit India movement is a part of INM. Under this, many movements are involved. I have not mentioned them. And the period of this movement is 1885 1947. It's just to give you information, because sometimes I find people, they consider Indian national movement even before this. Even revolt of 1857, I have seen some people considering as a part of Indian national movement. So it's a wrong perception. Indian national movement begins here with the foundation of Indian National Congress. Of course, before this, there were some movements and all, but they were not national movement as such. Okay? And then these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, revolts and movements, I have said, they are not the same. Do you distinguish them? How they are different? Or you think they are the same? Okay, so one thing what you have said is the masses not involved here. But like in revolt of 1857, different classes were involved. In revolt? Okay. Or even, yes, what do you say? Pardon? Here what? Okay, pan India correct. This is not pan India correct. Oh, this is pan India correct. Yes. Okay. You have used one more term, uprising. Okay. No, this is not the case. How they are different, say, this term revolt, and you have also used the term uprising just now. First, they are the same. There is no difference between revolt and uprising. First, consider one more term. Maybe you have a rebellion. Rebellion is also the same. And in a very simple way, revolt or uprising or rebellion refers to protest against an authority, often violent. Simple. Protest against authority, often violent. The two key features: protest against authority and violent character. One more term all of you must be knowing, that is mutiny. All of you know that the revolt of 1857 began as Sepoy mutiny. So there you get the term mutiny. Mutiny is also this, but of a specific character. Mutiny is also protest against authority, and of course violent in character. But those who are involved, they are not civilians. So those who are involved are not civilians. They could be soldiers, they could be sailors. So when the revolt is by the soldiers or those connected to armed forces, when they rise in protest against the authority, depicting violent character, that is mutiny. Now remember Sepoy mutiny, the revolt of, don't you think that was violent? Yes, where arms were looted, British officials were killed, and there was a protest against the military authority. And the movement refers to a group of people sharing common ideas and goals. So this is an entirely different thing. Let's use certain term here. Peace movement. So peace movement refers to what? Group of people sharing a common idea, that is peace. Common goal, that is peace. It was women's movement. Group of people sharing one common idea and goal, that is what? Women's liberty, women's right, women's freedom. Environmental movement. Group of people sharing common idea, conserve environment. I hope you are getting. Now link it to modern Indian history. Swadesi movement. So group of people sharing common idea, that is Swadesi. Another common idea, that is Swaraj. Another common idea was non-cooperation movement. 1920. Civil disobedience movement. Quit India movement. So everywhere same definition has to be applied. Quit India movement. So group of people sharing common idea goal, that is quit India. Okay. That means movement is not revolt. And those definitions are not applicable. Long process, pan-India, nothing. This could be pan-India, this could be pan-India. This could be long, this could be long, this could be short, this could be short. So these are not criteria. Is it okay? So you have come to know revolt, uprising, rebellion, mutiny, movement. Sometimes some similar kind of terms you come across, like coup. So coup is a sudden seizure of power by military. C-O-U-P. Sudden seizure of power. So that is a different. It is a sudden seizure of power. Overthrow of power by force. Overthrow of power by force. This term you will come across in world history, like coup by Napoleon. So that was overthrow of the existing power by force. Okay. Sometimes you come across this term, insurgency. Maybe in GS you have come across insurgency. So insurgency, here character of revolt is there. This is also violent. And so typically violent and typically employ guerrilla techniques. Like Naxalite movement in India, we can term that as insurgency, though that is declining now. So can we term Naxalite movement as insurgency? No, insurgency also, I mean insurgency, a party is there. One party must be there. Here also one party must be there. No, separatist tendency is something else. What we call secessionist movement or secessionist, like Khalistan movement, that was secessionist. Alright. So you have two characteristic feature. One, typically violent and typically employ guerrilla technique. And sometimes you come across a term civil war. That is again different. In world history you will come across this term, civil war, like American Civil War. So in civil war, one party is the government. They establish authority. And second party is that is fighting against that. And that is within the nation. Okay? Civil war. War within nation in which one party is the government and second could be any other. That could be any movement, that could be any group. For example, this American Civil War. So American Civil War, one party was the American government and second party was those American states that separated from America. Like a Spanish Civil War, 1936. So Spanish Civil War, one party was the Spanish government and second party was a fascist movement known as Falange. So fascist movement was fighting against the government. Alright. There are some related terms, but in modern Indian history, these terms you will come across. So my basic focus is to make you understand what is the difference between revolt, mutiny and movement. I hope it is okay. Now take a look here. Now here also questions are not like causes and impact or causes and significance. So we shouldn't prepare on those lines, just causes and impact. I give you some model question related to this just to have idea. Write down a few model question. Socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement of 19th century. Was a cultural ideological struggle. Was a cultural ideological struggle against hegemonizing, hegemonizing, hegemonizing colonial culture. Elucidate. Second one. Do you think the revolt of 1857? Do you think the revolt of 1857 was inevitable? Was inevitable? Question mark. Number three. Peasant movement during 1920s, 30s and 40s. During 1920s, 30s and 40s had a different character from the peasant revolts in 19th century. Peasant revolt in 19th century. Discuss. Next one. Do you think that the tribal and the peasant revolts, tribal and the peasant revolts of 19th century were backward looking in character? I hope through these models you get some idea. Again, I want to say the same thing, that our preparation approach shouldn't be very simplistic, just causes and impact. Otherwise, that will create a lot of problem in the exam. Even in GS Modern India also, you don't find any question like causes and impact. Even in GS Modern India also, similar kind of question we should expect with the way questions are occurring. Is it okay? Alright. So from the very beginning you should be mentally prepared that what is the level you have to reach in order to address the questions that are occurring. That means from the very beginning you prepare on the right line. Section 3 is okay, I think. Now, and I have said Indian national movement is the movement during this period, and that culminates into freedom of India. And then we logically get connected to section 4. India after independence. Here also 3 aspects are there: the political aspects, economic aspects, and the social aspects. If you consider all the topics here, and since just a few topics are there, so I have mentioned them all here. They are the only 8 topics related to section 4. You can have a look, the 8 topics. Integration of princely estates, reorganization of estates, economic policies and development, social policies and development, foreign policy and relations, and Dalit movements, environmental policies and movements, and regionalism. I have said this is mainly 1947-64, but there are some topics beyond that as well. Those topics are 1, 2, and 3. What I have ticked beyond 1964. Otherwise, the rest what I am taking in yellow, they all fall under the first phase of independence. What I have ticked in yellow, they fall under first phase of independence. And what I have ticked in green, they are beyond that. So just 3 topics are there. And these are all connected to building a free India. Alright. This is section 4, the small 6. But think of your GS, I mean those who have completed your GS history part. So don't you think there you must have done more than this, many more issues, just not this. You must have done all these also, plus many more. So those issues are not required in history optional. Okay. So all the 4 sections you have understood broadly. Now, if we consider these 4 sections during this time period, 1750s till 1964 mainly, there are some Indian personalities involved. That could be questioned. So here I have presented the list of all those Indian personalities on whom you can expect a question. That means nothing beyond this. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy to P.C. Mahalanobis. If you consider the last 2, they are important with respect to this period, post 1947 history. The names of all these personalities you know, must have read something about them, and you could have a specific question on them. Any personality what you don't know? Or you know everyone? This was associated with socio-religious reforms. Movement in 19th century. And these two, but mainly he focused on the lower caste. Sometimes we use the term lower caste movement during modern times. That is associated with that. And any other? P.C. Mahalanobis, getting? Okay. So how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 are there. Many other personalities are there. Chandrasekhar Azad, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, R.C. Dutt. So hundreds are there. But among the hundreds, if this done properly, say if any question on personality, there is a likelihood that must be from any of these. Okay? And then when you consider section 1, section 2 and section 3, then many governor generals are also involved. So this is the list on which we can expect question. This is French. Rest are or English. Here one more thing important. I think if you have that idea, it will be more convenient for you. With respect to every one mentioned here, there is a specific theme. For example, Mountbatten. Now, preparation of Mountbatten doesn't mean everything about Mountbatten. There is just one theme, transfer of power. Just one theme, transfer of power. Similarly, such themes are everywhere. In the case of Webel, just one theme, what is known as Webel plan. Karjan, just one theme. Administrative reorganization, and that includes even anti-nationalist approach. In Ripon is reforms. Lytton, anti-nationalist approach. Dalhousie, advancement of Britishness in India. Bentinck, reforms. Hastings, British paramountcy. Cornwallis, reorganization. Hastings, as a founder. Dupleix, French colonialism. You can click now. That's all, nothing beyond that. Are you getting all the themes you are getting? Okay. Now the idea here is preparing Mountbatten for Civil Services Exam, either history optional or GS main. The only theme you have to focus is transfer of power. Appointed as the last viceroy, he came, and what all he did in order to transfer power from British to Indian hands. Simply, nothing else, just this. Dupleix. So his role in French colonialism in India. His acts to found French colonial rule in South. Like role as a founder in the early phase, his role in Carnatic Wars, his role Battle of Plassey, his role Battle of Bedara, his role in Treaty of Allahabad, his role forming dual government in Bengal, all this put together, that is Clive. I hope you get all this. Alright? So this is all about these 4 sections. Anything do you want to ask here? This much idea you should have before we start the topic. Anything you want to ask? Everything is okay? Getting everything? Right. And to some extent got the level as well. Getting level is very, very important. For unnecessarily working in dark. And this is not the level in history of. This is the level in GS Prelim. This is the level in GS CSAT. You have seen the question this year. This is the level in all GS papers, 4 papers in main. This is the level in essay. See what kind of essay are occurring as a. Have you seen? Essays are not like my school teacher and your pet. Philosophical topics are there, and topics are such even difficult to understand also what they are asking. And same is the level in every optional subject. That means this is just not applicable here. So everywhere the similar kind of level you try to attain in order to become an IAS. If your preparation is anywhere below that, that puts you in crisis. Okay? And do it from the very beginning. It's not like 1 year preparation, 2 year preparation, the way normally people do. That they prepare 1 year, 2 year, they gain some maturity, so initially all basics. So after 2 years they know something of the higher level. Again 1 more year preparation, they know something more. Again 1 more year. So it's a 5-year plan. I think we're not interested in this. And what I think you can qualify in the very first attempt. Very first attempt you can qualify. You don't need more than 1.5 year preparation. I mean an average student. What you need is 1.5 year preparation to 2 year maximum. But for that, the fundamental requirement is that from the very beginning, prepare on this level. No basics. Basics are okay. Basics help you to understand the things. In the class, we will be also discussing all basics. Okay? So you don't have to read anything to understand the class. Even I have discussed what is revolt, what is movement, what is mutiny. These are what? Basics. So this kind of so many basics, fundamentals are scattered everywhere. And we're discussing everything in the class. But assume a situation. We discuss only those things and we complete the course. Then what will happen? When you enter the examination hall and when you see the question, so same thing what happened in GS Prelim this time. What is this, what is this, what is this? So everywhere what is this, this means you are out of the race. So when your situation is, this is this, okay, this is this, you know, and this is this. When substantial number you understand and you can answer, this means this is the right preparation. And now one slide I have presented regarding the relevant readings related to this section. And see 5 I have presented. This is what you read for GS Modern India. History of Modern India by Bipin Chandra is the Orient Black Swan. This is in fact the past series NCERT. Today this is in new publication also. This is the same book what some of you have said. Okay. This is a basic book, very good book. So for overall idea of modern Indian history, this is really very good. And here there are certain topics. So one thing, this book is very good for understanding. Plus in this book, there are certain topics, not all, certain topics that are highly relevant for writing answers also. Writing answers in history optional and GS main. Not all topics, but certain topics are there. So I will tell you about those topics. So I will prepare a list that out of this book, the whole book is good for understanding. If anyone interested, you can read. If you think your understanding is okay, so then this book is not needed. Only in this book, only those topics needed that will help you in answer writing, and this I will tell you in the class. Just a few topics are there. So if your understanding is okay, just read these topics. Okay. Now after that, 4 more books have means. And here every book has some positive aspect. I'm not saying that you read all these books. It is not required. It is not possible because you're the part of the class. Now in modern Indian history, your sources first is the class. This is the most fundamental source. Alright? And this will serve almost all the purpose of handling questions. I'm not saying just understanding. Handling question, that is the main thing in preparation. Handling question means only 2 things. 1, situation is not what is this. That means you understand the question. And 2, you can write a brilliant answer. So classes will serve this purpose. Second, you have a hard copy notes. One book is there, that what you get here. Here every page is not required. Certain things are relevant, what you have to use as a supplement here. So what topics needed here, or what pages, or what issues, that I will keep on telling you. In case I don't know how many pages are there here. How many pages are there? Someone carrying this? Okay, 340. So if 340 pages are there, so all 340 pages are not required. Don't have to read all. But out of 340, some pages you have to read, and you have to use them as a supplement to the class. That is not independent, supplement to the class. Is this okay? So those pages I will tell you what page. So you should keep on carrying that book, what he is carrying, every day in the class. Here also, if your understanding is okay, so some topics, this I also will tell you what topics you must read. And you incorporate those things, use them as a supplement to the class. Okay. Now, about the 2, 3, 4, 5, they are also good books. Are you having these books? All of you are having all? No. Okay. I think many of these books are available online also. All the books available online. So what I am suggesting is, you don't have to buy this. You don't have to buy this. I will tell you out of this certain topics, certain pages, certain issues rather, not topic also. Certain issues, pages you should refer to and use this as a supplement here. That way you can read all 5, and that will be equivalent to 1 book roughly. Not more than 1 book at least you should read. Suppose 40 pages here, 30 pages, 70 pages here, this. That much you should do. That is the best way for preparation. Why that is the best way? Because as you have come to know, questions are very typical nowadays. Level is very high, it is becoming complex. So our focus shouldn't be just one source. Because if you, like in the market people say, and you apply your own logic. People say, many teachers also say, that focus on, even toppers say, focus on one source and read that source over and over again rather than many sources. Okay, many say this. Apply your logic. If we focus on this source and read it, suppose 100 times, so the only advantage is that everything in this book we remember very well. So out of this, any question we'll be handling. But the nature of questions is such, where considering that out of this we will have all questions, this is a foolhardy attempt. So out of this, first consider GS Prelim. If from modern India you have, suppose next year 10 questions are there. So out of this book, maybe one question or maybe no question. Such situation is there. Then what the use of reading it 100 times? Apply your logic, what I am saying. Many claim this year also, they read this book so many times, they read Lakshmikant so many times. There was hardly any question in polity. So you will have to diversify. Now, diversification is a problem. How? It's not possible reading all, but there are people reading so many books nowadays. But here I am there to help you. In every book, and this is all available online, no need to buy. So I will tell you, okay, this book, so what pages you must read and supplement. Here these pages, here these pages, here these pages. This way finally, in fact, we are reading just one book. Hard copy notes, you are not reading everything, 340 pages are there in one book. But certain things are required. So that is also not completely you are reading. Now the idea is very simple. That this is fundamental. Here do everything. In the rest means hard copy notes. 2, 3, 4, 5. Just certain pages here and there and supplement. Finally, what you are doing? The class plus roughly one book. Class plus, this is what you are doing in modern Indian history. Okay. Now, since you are all preparing, you don't have idea that what page is relevant for the exam everywhere. So it is difficult for you. But given the idea, you can do that. Now, when people say focus on one and do that over and over again. R1 is this. Focus on one, do that over and over again. Because if we focus on one, what they say, so every year we will have to write an exam till we exhaust all attempts. I think this logic you can digest. This is completely illogical, wrong perception. I don't know how people are saying that. The questions are so diversified. How can you rely on one source anywhere? But people want shortcuts. So this idea makes a vigorous appeal to them. Nobody wants to study. Simple. If given a chance, no study of optional. You are happy. Only GS, essay is there. Suppose second option. No optional, no GS, only essay. You are happier. Suppose third option. Nothing is there. Come and become civil servant. First come, first serve. You are the happiest. So logic is no one wants to study. So that idea appeals. Just read one. But when the idea is read many, that doesn't make an appeal. Why? Reading many is a difficult job. But reading many is possible if someone is there to help. Is this okay? Will you agree to do this way? Yes. Then this will give you confidence also that you have read so many books. Reading book has its own value. It will improve your mental ability. It will improve your insight into the themes, issues. And when you supplement all these things to class, it becomes a brilliant preparation. So what books are there? See, India's Struggle for Independence, Bipin Chandra and others. Classes to Partition, Shekhar Bandyopadhyay. This is by Grover and this is India Since Independence by Bipin Chandra. Worst to worst, you can avoid this. Because this is a very small area. And this book might not be very relevant for that. Classes and notes are okay. But here also, if I give you just a few issues here and there, you can read them. This book itself is this much thick, I think. India After Independence. I think 700, 800 pages around maybe. This much thick as I remember. But out of this, I think 20, 30 pages you can read. This book is good for your GS part, GS post 1947 history, because that is still present. Ours is mainly till 1964. Plus certain topics are not there, I think. Environmental policies and all are not there, for example. So I think you understand the readings, how you have to do readings. So our approach is slightly different here. Not one source and over again. Rather, on selected basis, many sources and over again. Okay? Because here you will find that there are many things in all the books, they are common. But the way presented is important. For example, like in the Shekhar Bandyopadhyay book, in this book, everywhere you have topic nationalism or Indian nationalism, right? So nationalism is here, okay? These are common. Now reading nationalism everywhere is not required because you have class also. So first through class, things should be perfectly alright. And then, like nationalism here is the best way presented. The historiography is also involved. This is here, suppose nationalism topic is 50 pages. So what I will do, that not nationalism topic, rather under nationalism topic, page number this, over. So you will be very comfortable in doing that. So only those pages you get the print, because online it's all available, all these books. Get the print and attach to nationalism topic in the class. Okay? Right, so I've got the idea, I think. This is all about the brief introduction of modern Indian history. You see if you want to ask anything related to this, even related to this. Are you happy with this approach? This is the best approach, I think. And every section, if you do this way, you will feel very comfortable. With so many things you have read, so many books with the classes, and you have now deep insight into the issues, themes. It will make you very comfortable in the examination hall. And as I've said, reading has its own value. Now Civil Services Exam is such where shortcuts won't work, guides won't work, basic books won't work. is what I've said. Like, it appears UPSC is just changing us, making things in such a way, creating things in such a way that is all out of our reach. And the prelim this year has proved that. So everything is okay, I think. Nothing you want to ask? All right. So let's shift to topic now. And you have come to know that the 4 sections are there. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, Section 4. This is the way we have to move. So we are starting Section 1. This is Section 1. Section 1 covers 2 units of the syllabus, Unit 1 and Unit 2. If we have a look at the syllabus of paper 2, so you get these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and last is related to, beyond certain numbers you find, you shift to world history. The syllabus is not separated. It's given like, suppose 1 to 30. So in 1 to 30, 1 to suppose 16, 17 is modern Indian history, and 18 onwards is world history. In these sections I have given you certain ideas that what topics are defined in the syllabus, what wars, battles are important, what treaties are important. Okay. Now here, one thing everyone is aware in the class, and that is the part of medieval Indian history that I am connecting you, that you know that many European trading companies entered India. European trading companies. The first being Portuguese, (1498). All of you know Vasco da Gama reaching Calicut, 1498. This marked the beginning of the advent of the European trading companies. 1498, this falls under medieval Indian history. Then more came. So European trading companies is a topic under medieval Indian history. So that I covered there. I hope you understand logically, see the chronology. But they continued. And one of them, the English East India Company. This colonized a big part of India. And one of them, the French, this also colonized a small part of India, Pondicherry. And one of them, this also colonized a small part of India, Goa. This way India got divided into many India. One British India, one Portuguese India, one French India, right? The first thing, that is a basic, in fact, one slide is there. This one, advent of the European companies. What I have presented here is the fundamental. This is the sequence of their advent. First Portuguese, then Dutch, this way. The period they came, and the first factory. This is the first factory first factory they founded? As you have come to know, Portuguese came in 15th, and the first factory they founded was Calicut, Kerala. Then came Dutch, then English, then Danes, then French, then Flemings, also known as Austin. Portuguese were for Portugal, Dutch from the Netherlands, English from England, Danes, Denmark, French, France, and Flemings were from Belgium. That was during those days known as Austrian Netherlands. Austrian Netherlands, that is today's Belgium. So how many of them came? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now among this 6 and 4, they were not very active traders. 6 and 4, they were not, cut means they were not active traders. They were more involved in missionary activities, Christian missionary activity, and later they withdrew. Whatever property they had created in India, they sold to the other European companies and they withdrew. So this withdrew. Okay. Now remaining the Portuguese, Dutch, English, French. They created a strongholds over the western coast and eventually made Goa their headquarters, creating what we call Portuguese India. And Dutch had also established many factories, both eastern and western coast, but they had not established colonial rule as such. English and French, they harbored large colonial ambitions. And so there was a clash between their colonial ambitions. This clash was just not confined to India. Internationally, we find they were at conflict. Maybe you are aware of 7-year war. So in 7-year war, one party was France and one was Britain. So this was in fact the colonial clash. The same was there in India as well. This clash led to war. What is given the name Carnatic War? Carnatic War. Now, what I want to focus here is that the British conquest of India, try to understand this, the British conquest of India, when we use this term, that was the conquest by a trading company. I hope you understand. That was a conquest by a trading company from Britain. Second thing what I want to focus, that the English and the French They exhibited larger colonial ambitions and they were at conflict internationally. And the same found expression in India as well. Result was finally war, what is known as Carnatic War, because it was in Carnatic region. Carnatic was a state in south, so it's known as Carnatic War. Now in this war, what happened? Take a look here. The Carnatic Wars. Carnatic Wars were 3 wars. Why this is known as Carnatic Wars? It's not because this took place in today's Karnataka region. Because Carnatic was a state. This is the chronology of these 3 wars. So it was a long war, you can say. Finally here, during the 3rd war, one battle was fought. Battle of Vandy was. (1760). This was a decisive battle. Result of this battle was French defeat and British victory. The idea here is that the British conquest of India did not begin as a direct conquest initially. It began with counterbalancing French challenge. The Battle of Vandy was 1760. French challenge was completely counterbalanced. And when they were fighting, when the British were fighting the 3rd war, during the same time they opened a second front. One front was going on here. War front 1. And when this war was going on, they opened the second front. And that was in Bengal. This was taking place. First front was in south. This was in east. And everyone in the class knows that in 1757, the English company fought Battle of Plassey. BOP means Battle of Plassey, okay? So Battle of Plassey was fought in the year 1757 when 3rd Carnatic War was going on. This is what we call the opening of the second front. And then 1759 the English fought the another battle, Battle of Bedara, Bedara, against the Dutch. But Dutch was supported by Bengal Nawab here also. Dutch were defeated directly and Bengal Nawab defeated indirectly. In this battle, Bengal Nawab was defeated. In this battle, Dutch directly and Bengal Nawab indirectly, because Bengal Nawab supported the Dutch. So first victory in the second front, first victory, second victory. And 1760, after this, see, next. The third victory. Getting? Then the fourth victory. Come this side now. 1764. Battle of Buxar. What I want to highlight here is victory after victory. 1, 2, 3, 4. British conquest of India had begun. This is the previous. I hope now you understand why we are considering the two front. One front in South, second front in Bengal. Was counterbalancing this challenge was important. It is said, one day was decided who will rule India. Before that, these two, defeat of Bengal Nawab, defeat of Dutch, and then even greater victory, defeating three forces, Bengal Nawab, Awadh and the Mughal. So Buxar was still a greater victory. Now in this context, we say the process of the British conquest begins. Anglo-French conflict, this is exclusively mentioned in the syllabus. So we'll discuss this in detail. It's just a bird's eye view. First, my aim is to give you a broad idea of the British conquest. And then we will shift to, say, and then we will shift to this. So at present, whatever we are discussing, that is a broad idea of the British conquest of India. And after completing that, then we will be discussing this exclusively. Okay? Why this approach? Because if you get the broad idea of the British conquest and the way questions are occurring nowadays, that will help you in addressing them. But they are connecting so many things even in one issue, one theme, and they tend to go beyond syllabus also. So we will also go beyond syllabus slightly here and there in order to cater to the demands of the exam. Now after this, take a look. So you understand British conquest, the process of British conquest begins. Very clear? And this begins in Bengal. There is one issue also. Why did it begin in Bengal? Why not elsewhere? One important model question is there, you can write down. Beginning of British conquest in Bengal was not an accident. Beginning of British conquest in Bengal was not an accident. Comment. This is one important model question. It was not accidental. This means it was planned, deliberate. We will discuss these things in detail later when we will shift to Bengal. And the victory here was just ousting the French. And now take a look here. The trend of the British conquest. You have come to know that this begins here in Bengal. The conquest of Bengal was also not an event, it was a process. Write one more model question. I will keep on giving you model questions also. Later I will tell you what is the need of this. One need is you should get awakened to what is the pattern of the exam. This is very important. Plus second, you have to write answers on them whenever you feel like, and you have to get it evaluated. We'll discuss this one-on-one here. So what you have written? Okay, so next I am giving you the British conquest of Bengal. The British conquest of Bengal was not an event. The British conquest of Bengal was not an event, rather a process. Elucidate. Process begins here. Victory in Battle of Plassey. Okay. And then Battle of Buxar 64. Then Treaty of Allahabad. Then Bedara also in between 1759. And then 1772, formal control over Bengal. Now, we are not discussing here British conquest of Bengal. But I have said those 5 we will be discussing exclusively. What we are discussing is the entire trend, beginning till end. In this period, the main area what the British had conquered was Bengal, apart from some small here and there. Nothing else. Plus, in this period, since in Buxar, Awadh was also involved and defeated. So, Awadh came under the influence of the company. Plus, since the Mughal was also defeated in Buxar, so the Mughal king was Shah Alam II. So Mughal also came under influence. Some territories were acquired from Awadh also. But what I want to focus is the main territory here, what the British had conquered, and conquered means what? They established their own rule, direct rule. That was Bengal. And the process what began with the victory in Plassey ended with the abolition of Nawabship in Bengal in 1772. This period represents the first phase of British conquest of India. Okay, and direct rule in Bengal was established. Direct rule. Nawab was removed finally in 1772. Now, after 1772, we enter now the second phase of British conquest of India. After 1772, the general policy of the English company was not to fight war and expand. So general policy here was not to fight and expand. Or in simple way we can say there was no policy of annexing Indian states. That was the general policy. There were many reasons behind this policy because the company, English company, was not all that strong. So many challenges were there in India, like Marathas, Sikhs, Nizam, etc., etc. So company was not in a position to challenge every power. Plus there were directions from the home government. Maybe you are aware of Pitt's India Act, 1784. There were directions that company should be cautious about such policy, fighting war and expanding. There was some financial crunch as well. But, I mean, this was the general policy. But during this period, they fought wars with two powers. This was the period when general policy, I am repeating things over and over again. This was the period when general policy was not to fight and expand, but they fought with two powers. These are exceptions. One power is Mysore and one power is Maratha. They fought 4 wars with Mysore. I mean during this phase, and they fought 2 wars with Marathas in this phase. A big part of Mysore was annexed. Suppose this is a big part of Mysore. A big part, this was annexed. Wherever I am ticking in yellow, that is annexed area. I mean part of British. So big part annexed. A small Mysore was left. We'll discuss in detail later in Anglo-Mysore. Now fighting 2 wars, some parts annexed, some very small. This was the main expansion in the second phase. Now maybe one question arising in your mind. When the general policy was not to fight and expand, and why you understand. So why the wars with these two? Because the British considered this as a great challenge. This as a great challenge to be addressed immediately under Hyder Ali and Tipu. And they considered this as a great opportunity. Great opportunity because Marathas were fighting among themselves. This provided opportunity to intervene and control. So some success was there. Here complete success. Plus one more thing here, I am linking a major, you can say, achievement of the English here. The paramount power in India was the Mughals, where the Mughals were declining. Shah Alam II had fought here in Battle of Buxar but was defeated. Okay, so Mughals were a weak king, you can say. So whatever Mughal kingship was there, that was abolished here in 1803. End of Mughal authority. Now, one information I want to give you and I want to correct also. When a question emerges, the last Mughal king in India, so you say Bahadur Shah Jafar during revolt of 1857. This is wrong. Bahadur Shah Jafar was not the last Mughal king, he was the last Mughal. Last Mughal king was here, he was Shah Alam II. In 1803, the company abolished Mughal as king, as authority. After that, Mughals were not king, rather just the name, just the name. So the last Mughal king was Shah Alam II, and last Mughal was Bahadur Shah Jafar or Bahadur Shah II, who was deported to Rangoon in 1857. During that revolt, because he was declared as the leader of the revolt. Is it okay? This information is okay? And this was a big achievement. Why? Because the paramount power in India destroyed. And after that, the British began to claim that they are paramount power. This is what we call British paramountcy, first declared by Hastings, or the first idea given by Hastings. Now take a look here. Hastings, British paramountcy. He was the first to give the idea, he was the first to present this idea. Okay, how this was possible? Because the old paramount power was destroyed. Mughals were just pensioner in name. Anyway, Mughals had declined much, but whatever power they had, that was also destroyed. Now, territory-wise, we are discussing British conquest, the train. So here Bengal, here big part of Mysore and some Maratha territory. Now here we find there is a change in policy. In technical way, if we consider this, so here we can write was policy of no annexation. Policy of no annexation. But in this phase, 1813 onwards, this was changed. This was annex if cannot be avoided. This is a change in policy. Annex if cannot be avoided. If cannot be, if you cannot avoid, annex. Previously, don't annex. This change in policy, why? Because changing the status of the company now. Company was becoming stronger and stronger. And here you find many areas were annexed. and that began with the Governor General Hastings here. And then here many territories were added. Some important ones I am mentioning here. Kumaun, Garhwal. This was the result of Anglo-Nepal War by Hastings. So the big part of Uttarakhand, what you find, they were annexed. Third war with Maratha. And Peshwaship was abolished. And a big territory of Peshwa was annexed. I am taking in yellow. Yellow means conquered region. This part. Plus many more. And one more I am adding that is also important. Sindh. Sindh was annexed in 1843. And many more. Now see the expansion. Here it was just Bengal. Big part of Mysore, some Maratha territory. Very limited, but here many. We can say now the company was on the way of building an empire in India. And when we shift to this phase, this is the phase of Governor General Dalhousie. Here again change in policy, and now the policy was annex wherever, whenever possible. You just focus on this changing character of the policy. And Dalhousie is known as Great Imperialist. He annexed on the basis of wars. He annexed on the ground of misgovernment, on the basis of war like Punjab. On the basis of misgovernment, Awadh. On the basis of doctrine of lapse, Jhansi. Here there is just one example, Awadh. Here more examples are there, but I am just mentioning just three. This means he used three instruments to annex. Maximum annexation took place here. And there is a fact that no Governor General before Dalhousie, this you can write down if you want, no Governor General before Dalhousie, no Governor General before Dalhousie or after Dalhousie annexed even half of the territory. No Governor General before Dalhousie or after Dalhousie annexed even the half of the territory, what was annexed by Dalhousie, even half of the territory annexed by Dalhousie. You get this fact? And if I draw circle showing you the British territory, how expanding. So just Bengal was like this, very small. Now here some expansion, some additions, you understand? Here some more additions, many more. So British Empire in India virtually acquired its shape under Dalhousie. Now 57 is the year of revolt. 58, then a change in the power. Company's rule came to an end and Crown's rule began. And here again policy of no annexation. This is the last phase. Policy of no annexation. See again the shift in the policy, in the Crown's rule. But there are two exceptions, as here also two exceptions, Mysore and Maratha. Here also two exceptions. One annexation was parts of Afghanistan by Lytton, and one was Upper Burma, today's Myanmar, by Dufferin. This was in 1885. This was the last annexation. Lower Burma was already annexed by Dalhousie. Lower Burma was already annexed by Dalhousie by war. So complete Burma was made the part of British Empire in India. Now the process what began in Bengal, I am adding something more, process what began in Bengal ended so see process what began here ended with Upper Burma. One thing. Second thing, British Empire had already acquired a shape. After this we find just two additions. If we continue further, here we find just two addition. One, some part of this side, Afghanistan, and here Upper Burma. These are the only two additions what I have shaded. And see the shift in the policy. And shift in the policy was the result of changing circumstances. Eventually, if we consider British territory in 1885, beginning with Bengal, ending with Upper Burma. See, British India in 1885. Here, this pinkish territory is British India. And the yellowish territory is a native of princely estates. Now, one data I am giving you. So if you consider entire India, entire Indian subcontinent, so only 33% part, 33% of the total territory was under native estates. This means the rest under British India. And population wise, 25%, just wait, I mean you are clicking, just wait, I am adding something, and 25% of the total population resided in native estates. This means 75% population residing in British India. And these native estates were not free estates. They came under British paramountcy. Britishers proclaimed themselves as paramount power, supreme power, and they became subordinate units. This means they were allowed to rule their territory, but they were not sovereign. Okay? That means if we use the term British Empire in India, so that was just not a pinkish region, rather entire. So this term, the British Empire in India, that is the entire. Previous one I am showing. And in the post 1947 section, one topic is integration of native estates. That is what, in fact, that is the Indian efforts to integrate 33% of the territory. I'm asking you, the 33% of the territory, I raise the question again. When we say integration of native estates, in which Sardar Patel important role, so that means Indian efforts to integrate this 33% of the territory into Indian Union. No? Yes, she is correct. Not. No, Burma we are not considering here. Indian territory. There was outside territory. Afghanistan we are not considering here. %33% of the total means what? Indian territory, not Burma and parts of Afghanistan, but of course Pakistan. Today's Bangladesh, yes. Sardar Patel integrated this 33%. How less? Because the integration was based on the principle of geographical contiguity. So those states falling under the geographical contiguity principle with respect to Pakistan, so they joined Pakistan. For example, all native states here, they joined Pakistan. So not all 33%. Getting the idea? Not all 25% population incorporated, not all. Because many joined Pakistan also. But all under the geographical contiguity principle, that is geographical nearness principle, they joined India. 3 had refused, but they were also incorporated: Hyderabad, Jammu Kashmir and Junagadh. Okay. Finally, you get the idea of British Empire in India. But you can get this idea only through this. Now, if we discuss exclusively those 5 topics, those 5 means mentioned in the syllabus, so then the connectivity would be lost. Then this kind of information you can't get what you have got. And this kind of information is also important just to handle the way questions are occurring. Even GS Prelim also. Okay? And after discussing what we have discussed, and plus more we will be adding, discussing this separately, then this works. Is it okay? Now take a look here. We have started from this, okay. When I started this one, and here the first slide what I shown was this, and then I showed you this, alright, then this one, and then the map. Is it okay? But what I want is, this trend is okay or not? Changing character of British conquest is okay. It's not like in every phase. So how many phases here? 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not 6. This is not a phase, this is a gap because of revolt of 1857. So 5 phases are there. Okay? So this is all in today's class, and then we will be continuing this tomorrow, right? The first section what we have begin, and here I will be adding more. This is not complete. This is not complete. I have given you the broad idea. Under this, more discussions are required. For example, policy of ring fence, for example, subsidiary alliance, for example, policy of subordinate isolation, policy of subordinate union, okay, and more factual details, then this should be complete. Okay, but broad trend, broadly I have complete. Okay, right there. So tomorrow we will be meeting same